an AOA for attraction goes to Spongebob SubPants Adventure at Moody Gardens in Galveston, Texas. Please welcome the team. President and COO, Moody Gardens, John Zent. John? President and Creative Director, Super 78, Brent Young. Simex-Iwerks Entertainment, Mark Cornell, Senior Vice President. And Director of Attractions and Exhibits at Nickelodeon, Zane Yenish. Take it away, gentlemen.
Well, thank you. But no, they always say that you really, when you build an attraction, you really get into it. And that's my Patrick voice. Of course, I have my SpongeBob tie on. So, but we're very excited to be here to present today. We had a great team on this project. Just wanted to go through a little bit about Moody Gardens. We're a public nonprofit educational destination. We utilize nature and advancement of rehabilitation, conservation, recreation, and research. I guess the big thing there is that we are a nonprofit. We started back in 1983 with our therapy area, and you can see this was all under development at the time, and you'll see some pictures here in a few minutes. We are one of the 10th, we're always among the 10 largest attractions in the state of Texas. And we do over 2 million people a year in visitation. 68% of our attendance comes from the greater Metroplex area, which is, of course, the 4th largest city in the United States. And Galveston is about 45 minutes away from Houston. And our key market is families. So this is the site that we have here today. You can see the convention center, and that's been redone. We opened Palm Beach in 1984. Then in 1993, we opened the Visitor Center, which houses our rainforest and our giant screen theater. And then in 1997, we actually opened the Discovery Pyramid, and this is the area that I'll show you that we put the SpongeBob Adventure into. 1999, we opened an aquarium. Our largest tank is just over 1 million gallons, represents the Caribbean. And then we also have a hotel with 425 sleeping rooms and over 60,000 square feet of meeting space. The Ride Film Theater opened in the Discovery Pyramid back in 1997. 180-degree wraparound screen and an 18-person pod made you feel like you were in the experience. That was originally with IMAX, and then Simex-Iwerks took that over. Then what we did is we gutted that space out in 2014 and began this $13 million creation into the I can't even say it, SpongeBob SubPants Adventure, sorry. Try saying that a few times. We opened in Memorial Day of 2015, and we had a large opening with Nickelodeon presence. We have 2 theaters. This would be the second theater. There's a pre-show 1 and a pre-show 2, where he sets the tone of your adventure that you're going to start on. And then this is inside the theater itself from the back of the theater. And you'll hear a bunch more about this great team that we had together, put this attraction together. And I'm going to turn it over to Zane with Nickelodeon. Zane?
Thanks, John. Hi, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? We are Nickelodeon. We are a studio that comprises a lot of different divisions. And for our theme park attractions world, we're part of what's called Experience Design. Experience Design has the best seat in the house because we get to work with the incredible creators of the TV series. We get to work with all the different divisions of artists and our overlords in New York, and it's a really, really great studio to work with. So a little bit of history about SpongeBob himself to kind of set the tone, because we have a lot of things that excited us about the project and a lot of things that kept us wide awake with horror at night. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what were the priorities for Nickelodeon. And we're going to talk about how, as a production team, we solved the things that gave us agita. So SpongeBob SquarePants is the most watched animated show on television for 14 years running. He has 11.5 million Facebook fans, more than 1.5 million Twitter followers, which I think as characters go means he has like the biggest social following after Dave Cobb. It's a hip crowd. All right, cool. All right, and more than $13 billion in global consumer products, half of which are John's ties. So we're a big fan of all of his wardrobe choices. And so we looked at the project as a series of like, well, there are things that are really scary unknowns about this, but what are the opportunities with it? And our favorite opportunities are putting our guests with our characters. We have a great history dating back decades now of putting our characters into parades and live shows and meet and greets with guests. And this was really exciting to us, but we've never had an experience where the guest was going to interact live with a animated character from one of our shows. And one of the many, many concerns we had about this related to this guy. This is Bill Fagerbacke. He is an 11-foot-tall Nordic man who has been the only voice that Patrick Star has had since 1999. And maintaining that level of quality of performance was terrifying to us. So there were the technical challenges that we knew that were surmountable, but how are we going to recreate the incredible experience of having Bill live? So we first look at this with a series of guest expectations. So SpongeBob is a giant world. Everything from Bikini Bottom to Rock Bottom, all the different incredible places you go on the show. We wanted this show to be more than simply a live Vector experience. There's things that have been going off of the model of Turtle Talk with Crush, which is an amazing show, and we have loved it, guests have loved it for many, many years. But that didn't feel right. This kind of simple Q&A kind of format didn't feel right for SpongeBob. We wanted to put you in an episode. We wanted to put you on an adventure with SpongeBob. And that handoff between what was going to be a live character and what was going to be canned animation and things that had been rendered beforehand and how those all delicately got stitched together over many, many sleepless nights. That was what interested us most in the project. And so we developed, with our incredible collaborators, this gaming architecture that would put guests into a story from SpongeBob SquarePants. And that story we developed with all of our friends on the project team, along with our friends at production for SpongeBob itself. So this was a big team to kind of stitch together to tell this story. So at this point, we had started to figure out, well, if we're going to do a SpongeBob episode, everything that would start to affect you inside the theater wouldn't be the traditional complement of special effects. We love water spritz and bubbles and scent and all the kind of classic stuff, but it's not a SpongeBob story if everything is kind of as expected. So we wanted to suck a beach ball into the intake of the sub and fire it out into the audience. And we wanted to build effects that were honestly just as weird as the show is. So that was finally starting to give us some shape about what we wanted this experience to be. So we had the dream of like, all right, this is how we want our guests to feel in this. These are all the weird, crazy things we want to do to them. And then we still had all of the anxieties that kept us up very late at night. And production is how we solve those. So I'm going to turn it over to Brent.
That was excellent. I had more anxieties than anybody, let me tell you. Well, I'm just going to start off by saying what an honor it was to work with all of you guys. You're really a fantastic team. Working with the studio, Nickelodeon, was a dream come true. I mean, we've had a long partnership with them, about 10 years, but that studio has just an incredible depth of storytellers and animators and people that know the SpongeBob brand inside and out. So it was great working with them again, and we've really enjoyed our partnership. So deep diving into SpongeBob, you'll find at the heart of SpongeBob. Underneath everything, the values of SpongeBob really are friendship, right? Friendship and joy. It's these two guys, Patrick and SpongeBob, and their relationship with one another. And that's a really, really powerful foundation to build an attraction on, especially an attraction where it's an interactive attraction, where people are going to actually meet your characters, and you want somebody who's lovable and squishy like Patrick. So in 2012, we sat down and we kind of came up with our own secret formula for fun. You know, we wanted to use the world of SpongeBob. We wanted a live 3D character. We wanted 4D show elements. We wanted branching storylines, immersive cues, and of course educational elements, because that's a really huge important part for Moody Gardens. And with that, we wanted to bring live marine life into the show. So it's not just all rendered and CG and pixels. There's actually real sea creatures in there. Now, you know, I mean, you roll all these up, these ingredients up, and then you could get something like this, the quesalupa, right? But, you know, you have to think a little bit more. And so our original concept design looks something like this, which looks very much like the final theater. But the story of SubPants, the adventure, is not really about SpongeBob or Patrick. It's about you. It's about the guest, right? We're taking you down to Bikini Bottom, and you're going to meet these wonderful creatures down there. So we really have to kind of flip it and start thinking about, like, not writing what a traditional movie would be, but how you're the story, you're the center of it. So we're taking you on a little adventure. So we need to kind of think of some design decisions, especially when it comes to the cue portion of it, the educational elements. How do we all bring that in and also make it entertaining and fun? So humans don't live in the world of SpongeBob, so we have a pre-show and a cue experience that needs to ease you into this world, right? And this world is, you know, made up of found objects on the bottom of the sea, you know, nautical objects that you might find, you know, a great little lighthouse that's probably made out of something. And we try to find an analog in the real world to what Bikini Bottom would be, right? So, you know, in Texas, and we thought about Texas, there's a great, like, restaurant there on the seawall and glass bottom boats, and we really thought, like, the 50s seaside attraction really fit with SpongeBob's world, right? It would have been easy to do a tiki theme, but that really doesn't fit with the regional audience that is Houston, right? So glass bottom boat restaurants, piers, authentic nautical details, that's what really started our thought process in design. So we started sketching out some ideas for the dock, and this is kind of what the final production is. We actually had a closed circuit television studio idea here. It was Reef Vision, and we had commercials, fun commercials that all kind of promoted this kind of time period. So now we have these design decisions that we can hang all this stuff from. And we still have this big yellow submarine that we wanted to do. And I think that was Mark Cornell's great idea. Like, who doesn't love a submarine, right? So we kind of need to shoehorn this in. But we're really lucky with that because of the depth of SpongeBob, right? There's a character named the French narrator. Now, he doesn't actually smoke, but we decided to, like, put a cigarette in his mouth anyway just to see what he would look like. He's the voice of, he's voiced by Tom Kinney also, and it's kind of a Jacques Cousteau sound. So it happens, you know, it just so happens that Jacques Cousteau had a yellow submarine, right? So we took that character, the French narrator, and combined it with the Jacques Cousteau theme and the seaside attraction, and we came up with the Oceanauts Submarine Adventure. And our friends at Nickelodeon, maybe it was Zane, this was a big collaborative effort, I believe it was, came up with the great name La Plongeur as the name of the sub. He christened it, right. So all of those decisions, you know, came like, what were we going to wear? Well, now we have some ideas of the things we would wear. And here's our sub launch, and yet we weren't going to wear that outfit. We came up with a different one a little later, but these are some of our live actors in their final outfits, and kids loading in to go on La Plunger. And here's our great theater with portals and periscopes that go up and down and all these amazing effects. And here's some of our kids enjoying it. So you cut to May 2015, the night before the show opened, and our complex systems are just finally all coming together. And John Zent invites the world to the preview night. Every one of his pass holders is coming. And we're sitting there wondering, you guys were all there like, oh no, what's going to happen here? The captain sings the song, "Who Lives in a Pineapple Under the Sea?" Right? Everybody yelled that out. You knew you were okay, right, going into it. So the guests start talking with Patrick. Patrick starts talking with him, and his really spontaneous personality, his scatterbrained personality, takes the guest on an adventure. They have no idea where they're going to go. And it really was mayhem. And at certain points, I was like, I don't even know what's going on. It's so loud in this place that all the subtleties that we worked on for the last 3 years are completely lost on them. But I knew it was fun. They're having a great time. But at one point, you know, we wanted to add like even more level of interactivity. And this is what we're talking about as far as adding, because you're in the story, you're in control. We let the guest pick where they're going to go, which locations they're going to go to. So as you see, these little kids right here, they're having a great time. They have buttons in front of them, and Patrick can say, hey, where do you want to go? You want to go to Sandy's Tree Dome, or do you want to go to Rock Bottom? And of course, where would Patrick keep the map? Well, Patrick's got the map tattooed on his back, right? So kids look at the map and they go, oh, well, I want to go to Sandy's Tree Dome. All right, then away we go. But I want to say that just to wrap up this is that the secret ingredient to great attractions is not cheese-infused tortillas. No. It is, at the end of the day, it's that all of us, everybody, really loves what they do. Everybody on the project. We have Angela in the audience, who's from Gilbane, the construction company. John Kokum, who is the producer. All of our tech guys over here who are working. Nassel Company, I don't know if you're in the room, but you just did an amazing job. Everybody did a fantastic job. And it's about that passion and that heart and that understanding of what we're doing that kind of gets these things done and delivered. And so we're all very, very thankful. Here's our friends at Nickelodeon. Yeah, JP, there you are, getting your tattoo. And there's my little son on opening day. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Well, this is a room, can you hear me? This is a room full of creative, talented, experienced people, and no doubt this panel is full of experience and talent in this attractions business, and I mean that. In I'm going to get to John in a little bit, but it's a nice mix. I think I'm going to go back a little bit, but it's relevant to understand a little bit about Simex-Iwerks Entertainment. And I'm the Senior Vice President of Attractions Development. I've been in this business for almost 20 years, and with that, you build, a rapport of experiences and working with people. You know who you can count on. You know who you can go to. You know where to go to get it. And this room is full of those type of people. The nature of our business is cinematic experiences, and to date we've done more than 350 attractions around the world in 25 years, and that's a lot of attractions. In North America alone, we have 40 partnerships, and what I mean by partnerships is cinematic experiences that need new, content regularly to change out the attraction to keep things fresh. That is our business model, and we've been very good at it over the years, and we've formed relationships all over with John Zent at Moody Gardens. I think we go back to 19 years, dating back to IMAX ride film, right? And with that, sometimes you have a venue that has a space that's available for attraction. Sometimes there's something missing in that venue to fulfill an all-day pass. In this case, John and I, for years, were working at this exhibit space that he used to use for just that, exhibits. They'd come and go. And John and I, went through a lot of concepts, and we're through this 19-year partnership. He kept asking me, what can we do in this space? And we came up with this great idea. We were going to do this 4D cinematic experience that was whirlwind, rain, and wind. And oh my God, you were going to need a slicker and do this amazing sort of storm film. And we were at a GSEA conference in New York, and we were all in a bar having a drink. And we looked up on the TV, and this big giant cloud was coming into the Gulf of Mexico, something called Hurricane Ike. And it was a direct hit. And John grabbed his team immediately after he looked at his television. They all headed to the airport. And I think you were like the last flight to get in. So this devastating hurricane happened. And we looked at the aftermath. And this extreme weather attraction really didn't make any sense. It was just canceled out. Hurricane Ike, it's just, wow, no way we can do this. So John asked me to take another look. And flat out, what else can we do in this space? And so there was no exhibit. There were 6 pillars. They're standing in a room like this, and we said, it'd just be great if we could put a submarine right here in the middle. And we got to push the envelope, right? We just got to. It just can't be a normal another 4D theater. He already has one. I mean, John has some of the best cinematic attractions on the planet. I really think he's got clearly one of the finest IMAX theaters in the world. And so it just sort of rattled on. We said, it's got to be an intellectual property. We've got to tie a big IP. We have a great relationship with Nickelodeon and Fox. So we sort of, just sort of looked through and it just sort of came. We're going to do something SpongeBob related because SpongeBob's been a big success in the 4D theater. And Patrick is one of those voices that you can pretend. And I think everybody here has probably got a Patrick, And, the latest in digital characters, and it just all started to come together. We wanted a pre-show, the characters from SpongeBob in live well tanks and jewel tanks, and so I went upstairs, pitched John before his meeting. He talked to his Moody Foundation about it, and he said, go get me a proposal. So then I'm going to go fast now, and then we're down to 8 minutes. So then you got to pick your partners. Who's going to help you with this? Because I really wanted it to be all it could be. And we had such a great relationship with Super 78 and Brent and Nickelodeon. It's just been utterly fantastic. We've made several movies for world distribution, and we pulled all of this together. And I'm telling you, this project came alive. These people are inspired. They want to build the best of the best. And it's been an inspiration to work with all of you to pull this together. And it is a cutting-edge attraction. We wanted something 3D, 4D, interactive, immersive, and something that's never been done before. And we wanted to push that envelope, and I really believe we achieved that. And so, I'm just so proud to stand on this stage with these great people. And I'd like to say one thing. This room's full of talent, no question. But it takes venue owners to be able to, and operators, and I'm talking about you, John, that just stand up and take a chance and take this visionary sort of proposal document that we all put together and to say, you know what, I'm going to go get the money for this. This is going to be great. We're going to do this. And you were an inspiration for this. And so.
Thank you.
So thank you, John Zant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, I guess. We're going to open up.
Hello? Yes. I'm seeing a trend that the owner and developer are standing behind the creatives who produce that creative experience, which is great. What's unique about this is Moody Gardens is about therapy and rehabilitation. And that's a magical, it's medical tourism, really, a magical combination. Can you speak upon that impact to your core foundation as a therapy and rehabilitation center?
Yeah, we still do. We have our Hope Therapy is how we started, and we had hippotherapy. We've changed our hippotherapy over the years because there's been a lot of changes in the industry. You used to have horses that go outside. When people walk around with head trauma injuries, when you're using a horse, you're using the same muscles you do when you walk, your inner thighs, your back. So one time around arena, a new client would just kind of slouch over. The next time, maybe he'd do 5 times around. But that technology has changed now, have robotics where they can use it like a mechanical bull. So you take the weather out of the equation and those types of things. But we continue to make sure that we keep physically challenged people to make sure that they can experience just like everyone else. We still have horticultural therapy, which we still bring clients, and we do a lot of our grounds. We do cuttings and use those plants on our grounds. We do sports days where we take physically challenged people. We do snoobing, which is a cross between snorkeling and scuba diving. So we continue to keep that in the forefront, even as we move forward with new projects. We're keeping that at the front. So.
Hi, I'm Sean with Beaudry Interactive, and I was curious if you could talk a little bit more about the live animal integration into the show,
yeah.
and then also you mentioned that there was at least the one interactive choice about where to go. Are there other audience choices involved or interactions?
Brett, let me just, when I went to the team with the live component, again, with people with rehabilitation, we wanted to definitely have live components, so that we went to the team and said, it's important to us that you put live components in because of the aquarium, because of the staff that we have. We were able to integrate that fairly easily. But Brent, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I mean, that was fairly a simple design choice, and Mark alluded to it, right? We had the space. They have a wonderful aquarium right next door, so they have the people and they have the wherewithal to make that happen, and the life support people to do that. And it was really just an opportunity for us to introduce the live creatures that you're going to meet down in Bikini Bottom, which is so unique, right? I mean, like sea sponges and sea stars and crabs and cephalopods and all of these things, and then also have, instead of your traditional didactic panels that just kind of give you the Latin names and some other information of like where they come from, we decided to have a lot of fun with it, and everything, all those little panels are written in the voice of the French narrator or explorer, so when kids come up to it, it's really unique. It talks about the behaviors, but kind of in their personality of each one of the animals. So really fit, I think, with the design of the entire experience. It fit with that, and once you're exposed to like, oh, here's a real sea star, here's a real sea star, then you can make that jump, like, oh, this is a real thing. Patrick's based on a real thing. And Steve Hillenberg, who created the entire world, is a marine biologist, so I think he would also appreciate the fact that we were doing that. As far as the interactive choices go, yeah, there are many choices that they have along the way. So we give them the ability to go to not only different lands, different places in Bikini Bottom, but our host is out there asking them all kinds of different questions and fun things that will happen in the audience of 4D effects, and we'll get into a little bit about that in a little bit when we talk about the technology.
Yeah, the nice thing that we like too is no two shows are the same because you have the audience interaction. So,
and that's creating that architecture that I know you're going to get into more deeply, but it gave you big branching points, so they were like whole acts of the show change show to show, but then there were sub-branching levels on this thing that were taking you to, all right, this is going to be a live portion where you're going to invite somebody up and they sing and they interact with Patrick, and they have different games that are played as part of each of those sections. So creating that architecture was ultimately like the biggest choose your own adventure novel like ever made, but with a whole lot of blanks of, we don't know what a guest is going to say here. This might be a little crazy. Like,
right. Which was the anxiety part.
Yeah. Still there.
What they say. Anybody else? We got one back there.
Hi, I'm Timothy Roshan with Wall Street Productions out of Detroit, Michigan. You spoke about having 3D character interaction. Can you speak about that as well as the stereoscopic production and presentation systems?
Sure. That was kind of an interesting little challenge on the technical side. We needed to render all this live, right? And so we're going from location to location. You have these beautiful locations and feature quality renders that are going on. But most of the time, what you see This isn't an exact example of that, but you would see something very much like this in the show. Patrick's running live. He's a live 3D character running out of a game engine that's actually live, when the whole world around him is basically is a pre-rendered element that's being projected in stereoscopic behind him, and he's living in that pre-rendered 3D world. So it's, here she comes. Anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Mark, thank you, Brent. Thank you, Zane. And thank you, John. Woo! SpongeBob.